So excited to be here at Centennial College. There's such amazing things happening here. But before I get started, I just wanted to say we're on First Nations territory, and I'd like to thank the First Nations for taking care of this land for all those thousands of years. I think in life, that is what it's all about. We need to learn to take care of this land. And unfortunately, I'm clicking and it's not working. But in order to take care of this land, we have to learn from each other and take care of each other, because it's the land, the soil, the air, the water that will actually sustain us. And we need to learn to take care of these things so that we have a future. On Earth, our beautiful Earth, there are limited resources. It's a finite world that we live in, and the resources that sustain us are limited. The water, the air, and so on. And as the numbers of people have increased on the earth, our consumption of food through production and so on, and the waste that's produced from that food production has caused problems. There has been waste and pollution and emissions from carbon fossil fuels as we produce more and more food. And the second part of that is that it takes a huge amount of energy to produce all of that food. This takes a huge toll, and we're actually using up more resources than are sustainable on this limited planet Earth that we have. And the result is that with all of those emissions from that production of food, which is about 50% of the emissions, we're creating climate change, carbon emissions from that process. And this is, according to the latest IPCC report, something that we have to deal with in the next 12 years. We have a race against time in order to prevent climate change. And since food production is about 50% of that problem, we must address the food problem. We must figure out how to produce enough food, healthy food, to make it possible for us all to live. For myself and my family, this started in a simple way, and it's anything that you or I can do. We can switch to organic food. We lived in Riverdale in Toronto, and we would go up to the Carrot Common, and we would choose organic food. And this started back in 1992 when my children were born. My son was born that year. That was also the year the Union of Concerned Scientists said that we have to start addressing climate change. So we've known about this problem for a long time, but we can't wait any longer. This is a critical problem, and we need to all discover together things we can do to address it. And food is a great place to start. Switch to local organic food. For myself, I told my family back then in 1992 that we should change the way we live. We should live in a solar-powered house that has no fossil fuel burning and uses only 100% resources. They said, "Are you crazy? If that was such a great idea, why isn't everyone else doing it?" And you got to admit, you look around, you don't see too many, solar-powered houses, especially 20 years ago. But it seemed to me we have to make these changes now, and we all need to do this. It's all doable, but it takes some work. And so we designed this house that uses renewable energy, and it uses systems that are very natural. One of those key building blocks of this house was straw bale walls. And I know you're probably starting to think about those three little pigs, right? They blow the house down. Straw bale cannot be a good way to build a house. But think about it. Straw bales are the waste product from growing wheat, food. So we can turn the byproducts of growing food, especially when we do it organically, into these incredible building blocks. Straw bales. We got it from a local farmer. Straw bales are phenomenal. You can build any kind of building with this. Commercial warehouses, commercial buildings for offices, any kind of building can be built with straw bale. And straw bale is 2-3 times better at insulating the building than conventional construction. It's in the building code. There's enough straw bale houses out there and other buildings that it's supported. It's a natural building material. It's renewable. It's a breathing wall. So it actually provides better indoor air quality. So when we start using natural, renewable materials, things become much more healthy. And this is something we've got to do with all of the waste products. We have to turn them into very useful products. The next thing about our home was that we use a green roof. And a green roof is simply, instead of shingles and just not using your roof for much other than getting rid of the rain, it's soil. So we put about 6 inches of soil up there with some membranes to waterproof it, and that's a green roof. And green roofs can be built anywhere. In fact, in Germany, about 20% of the buildings are green roofs. And everywhere you look, take a look out of the window when you're around here and see all of those rooftops. They can be transformed to be growing green roofs. And what I learned is that with this rooftop of ours, we could start growing things. We started growing strawberries and herbs and all kinds of things. And it's a beautiful protected area. So it's so great for growing because things can't get up there. The pests are not as easily able to get up there. And green roofs also are critical in the future, especially in urban areas, because they reduce the heat island effect that climate change is making worse. So it's a way to reduce that heating in cities. But more important than that, it reduces rainwater runoff by 90%. This is critical. In a climate-impacted world, we must mandate green roofs everywhere so we can grow food and reduce those impacts. Green roofs are simple and easy for us to build with. Of course, all of this has to be powered by renewable energy, and there's so many types of renewable energy that we can choose from. On the top of our house, you can see at the top 3 panels. Those are solar thermal hot water heating panels. They provide all of the hot water and in-floor heating system with the energy we need to heat the home in the winter. The panels below that, the large array, is photovoltaic solar panels. They convert, imagine this, they convert sunlight into electricity. How phenomenal is that? And all of the electricity and more than we need, is generated by these solar panels. But that's actually just kind of the funky tech stuff. The real core technology in this type of building that we can all apply. The Greeks applied this concept thousands of years ago. It's called passive solar heating. That's the simple idea of putting windows on the south side with an awning above so that it doesn't overheat in the summer. But in the winter, the sun comes way into the house, heats up the concrete floors, and that's a natural heating system. By doing that, we get to a point where we have 0 fossil fuel use in the home. There is no furnace, no gas bill. It's so cheap to operate, and it runs on 100% renewable energy. And all of the materials that we used, including the straw bales, the birch, the zinc, the aluminum, and the steel, can be recycled. So these are the types of buildings we need to build on a large scale, and we can do it. There's so many things we can do. Of course, I also have an electric vehicle. I know what you're thinking, probably, why doesn't he have a Tesla? All the green guys have a Tesla. But there's also much more affordable electric vehicles like the Chevy Volt, and they're amazing. And when you drive one that's powered by solar energy, that's a renewable transportation system. So when we go to the grocery store now, although, if we can bike or walk, that would be the best thing to do. But if we do have a further distance to go, doing it in an electric vehicle powered by solar energy, that's the way of the future. Now just imagine the entire food system being transported, delivered using giant electric vehicles. Those are coming. And when they're solar powered, we get to a renewable world. And that's what we need to do with the entire system. The other part, of course, is we need to start growing food in our own gardens where we can, and in urban areas wherever we can. That's the healthiest way to do it, is grow your own and do it organically. And organic means basically don't use pesticides. I mean, imagine all those pesticides that are used everywhere. They're flowing into the air, the water, they're destroying everything, nature, they're poisoning us. That's why we stop feeding it to our children in our family. And we all need to do that. And it provides a great system for growing on a large scale, so it can be done in a massive commercial scale. And it means also doing things like composting, simple things, looking at nature and the way nature works and learning how to grow foods naturally. And when we do that, we can do amazing things. Another system for that is permaculture. It's something I've tried and practiced, and that's permanent agriculture. Again, looking at nature, how it works to preserve water where we need it with the plants, using diversity, using an understanding of the soil and the natural microbes that are powering the growth of plants that are the interface. And these are the results. I have two wonderful kids that have grown up on organic food in a natural home, and the food we produce is this wonderful, beautiful tomatoes. The future of our food system has to be a regenerative food system. And again, this can impact and change the world because it can fight climate change. It does it by switching to 100% renewable energy in all of the food systems. That's from growing, the tractors have to be electric, all of the systems must use organic fertilizers, and we must also eliminate all of the use of pesticides, and we have to use an understanding of nature, how to grow things in an organic way using the way nature does it. On top of that, all of the systems that transport that food to you as a consumer have to be converted to electric power, powered by renewable energy. We have to look at all of the processing facilities. They have to be built like my home, using renewable materials and using renewable energy. All of the packaging has to be rethought, ideally eliminated. And of course, everywhere we see waste. Food waste is like 30% of the food problem. Where we see that, we have to eliminate it, turn waste into a product that is for the next step. And when we do that, we'll get local, healthy, fresh food that will make us better. And then more recently, I've discovered about 3 years ago, a friend of mine, Alec Wheeler, showed me this amazing system called Aquaponics for growing food. And it's really about combining in a closed loop fish. So he has 20 tilapia underneath this grow bed. And those tilapia poop, and the poop goes up into the grow bed and into the gravel. And then there's microbes in the gravel, bacteria, that actually make the nutrients from that fish poop accessible to the plants. And this grows these wonderful kale and arugula and all kinds of plants in an organic way. You can't put pesticides into a system like this. It is the most delicious, wonderful food you've ever done. I don't even like kale that much, but this kale is phenomenal. It was like so tender and delicious. And so here we have a fresh way to grow aquaponically. And so I've been experimenting with this. This stuff is in its early, it's ancient technology. They've been doing this for thousands of years in one form or another, but we still have so much to learn. I've been experimenting by combining in my basement. So again, when we do aquaponics in a house like mine or in a commercial building like mine, it's powered by renewable energy. So those LED lights, which are the key, they make it efficient. That makes it possible to do on a large scale because the energy consumption is so low. And we can innovate. I'm trying 5 different technologies here. So we need to figure out new ways to do it, combine it with soil systems. And of course, in the background of my aquaponic system are actually 200 tilapia. That's the other great thing about this closed loop system is it uses fish in combination with the plants we're growing. And so we have a source of food in the fish we can eat, protein and so on, combined with the plants that are so delicious. And there's some of my kale growing with a little bit of soil as well. So it doesn't have to be just water-based hydroponic type systems. It can also be soil-based. And this system can be scaled massively. This is a warehouse in downtown Toronto that we developed, and we are producing food at 200, 300% more productivity than conventional farming. It uses 90% less water. This is critical in the climate-impacted world we're heading towards. It's in a controlled environment, and because those LED technologies in the last 3 or 4 years are so efficient and so affordable, the return on investment is finally there. We can do this cost effectively. And so we've got to scale this massively because remember, this is the key to preventing climate change. This is the core of the problem. The last piece of the puzzle is the food waste. 30% of the food problem is actually all that food that we waste at the farm. It's the food we waste at the grocery store that doesn't get eaten, and in our own homes when we don't finish our food. So we have to transform that process. So there's a service in Toronto called Waste Not Farms, and they actually have a service where they pick up the food and they take it in their electric vehicle, which is solar powered. So this is where the future is. And then they have 250,000 earthworms. And those earthworms, they actually transform that food waste into worm manure, worm poo. And that's the ultimate. That's nature's natural fertilizer. It is the best thing to get your plants growing. So then we can use this worm manure, this incredible natural fertilizer, to grow more food. And the key to it is working with nature. It's the knowledge that the microbes from that worm's gut that gets into the worm manure is the key to allowing the plants to absorb the nutrients. So the more we study this, the better we can produce healthy plants for everyone. And the final thing is it sequesters carbon, so we can actually reduce the carbon in the atmosphere, and this is critical. And so this brings us to the idea of my vision of Aquaponics grow house, a solar-powered facility that uses vertical, hydroponic, aquaponic growing, green roof agriculture, all with the waste processing core to it, and fish production in the middle there, all with geothermal energy from the earth. And with this system, we can go a long way. And so I proposed this system a year and a half ago to Centennial College, right here. And they're looking to try and build this system. So at the core is a new educational facility to teach the next generation how to grow food in a sustainable way. And it's all going to be powered by solar energy. It'll have green roofing for conventional agriculture, permaculture, organics, with aquaculture right in there, and see all the solar panels, all powered by 100% renewable energy. And we have greenhouses here, so we can learn to grow indoors in controlled environments. This is the vision that's starting to come together right here at Centennial College. It's an amazing vision that sees us using 100% renewable energy, 100% renewable resources in a closed loop, regenerative agriculture right here, and it's the next generation. It gives them a living lab to build the future of food production. That's how we can feed our future. Thank you very much.